Welcome back to The Watch. And just when you thought Netflix couldn't ruin another franchise you love, they've done it again.
Oh my gosh. So, One Piece Netflix adaptation trailer has dropped. Before we go down that rabbit hole, what's been your exposure to One Piece?
Morning cartoons.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say I've binged it, but growing up, I watched episodes.
Oh, you've probably watched more than me then.
Yeah.
So I first read the manga and I got, I don't know, only so far into it. I know it's big and long, and well past when he meets Zoro and a couple of the fun fights. And I was impressed with the manga, with how creative and fun the fights were. They were good. I gave the animation a try. I've only gotten a couple of episodes into it, but it was very clear that they got the adaptation of Luffy pretty good, his light-hearted goofiness. I thought the animation was fun and good. Haven't watched heaps of it, so you've probably watched more animation than me.
Maybe. I tried watching it again a year or two ago, but I could already feel the fatigue before I finished the first season. So, yeah.
Well, so we have some exposure to One Piece. I certainly have enough to have a good understanding of Luffy's character. And am I saying that? Luffy?
Yeah.
Luffy. And Netflix, I've known that they've been doing an adaptation for a bit, okay? And I saw some pictures in the past, and they did not impress me, but you always think, oh, well, it'll depend on the execution. Right?
Exactly.
We need to see how this works. And now the trailer has dropped, and I've only watched a couple of parts of the trailer, and oh my gosh, it looks awful. Like Cowboy Bebop realms of bad. But Cowboy Bebop was so bad because it got co-opted by feminist activists and Faye was the worst, and it was just, I
actually think Cowboy Bebop was a better... Like, the first trailers looked more promising and exciting. Yeah. It was Faye that ruined it. Where this looks less exciting, and so I'm even more afraid what's going to ruin this too, because there's always something hidden, I feel like, behind, especially with Netflix. They like to incorporate in their messaging.
Are they deaf? Like Netflix, surely you have heard the mountainous criticisms of your dog crap adaptations. Have you seen all the memes where it says manga, anime adaptation, the Netflix adaptation?
Yeah.
Like, you are known for being dog crap. And have you learnt anything from the criticisms? Not from what we see with this One Piece trailer. Par for the course, it seems like.
Yeah, this all came in an announcement with, they have this weird, like, showcase. It's called Dudum. That's
Really?
what they call it. Dudum. That's where they do all the new Netflix announcements and stuff. And I feel like it reminds me a lot of Rings of Power. The little echo chamber where all the celebs are there and everyone's like, woo, yeah, exciting. And the interview's like, I'm so excited about like Luffy and like, this is so good and exciting. And I'm like, you're really ignoring that one elephant in the room that's like controversy, Yeah.
So comparing it to Cowboy Bebop is interesting because on the surface, I actually think Spike and Jet were done okay here.
Yeah.
And it was Faye that just ruined it. And we didn't even get past the first episode after Faye. Maybe we tried the second one. I think I noped out halfway through the second episode.
I think we only did 1 or 2 reviews, but then we started watching it and we stopped before we finished the next review. It was so bad.
Spike and Jet, passable. From the trailers I've seen of One Piece, the adaptations of these characters, especially Luffy, look like it's terrible. He does not sound, act like Luffy at all. It's like it's miscast and terribly depicted. And even if it has less terrible stuff as Faye, and it is an awoke mess, right? It's the adaptation that is ruining it already. And so it could be not as bad as Cowboy Bebop with no Faye terrible crap, but because it's not as good as like the Spike and Jet things, and the main characters are so crucial, it looks real bad.
I also just feel like a live action One Piece is a lost battle because like One Piece is the hardest thing to adapt from an animated or like manga perspective. It's so cartoony and fantasy.
They like to do it properly. You would have to lean into the goofy zaniness of One Piece.
Yeah,
it's like they tried to make it look too real at certain parts. And my biggest criticism, and we'll show some of the trailer, right, is Luffy. Like he is not goofy or lighthearted at all. He's almost has this seriousness about him where he's earnest in it. And it's just like, this isn't Luffy. It doesn't even feel like One Piece as a result. It's like, and that's the most important thing to get right, and it's the worst part of this. And so let's show you just how bad Luffy is. You've already failed. Like that tone, the tune, ding, that's like a tune of seriousness, like reflectiveness and everything. That's not One Piece! One Piece isn't serious! And so from the very opening of this trailer, you've totally missed the tone and feel of One Piece, dramatically so. I mean, gosh.
Ever since I was a kid.
Does Hollywood have a thing against scars?
I don't
Because
know.
both this and another video we're going to do with Last Airbender, whenever we do live action scars, they're always so faint.
Yeah.
But I feel like Luffy, that little scar stitching was such a iconic thing.
Mm.
I can't even see it in that.
This looks like a low effort cosplay.
There are comments in this as well. I'm pretty sure people thought like this was a fan trailer, but it wasn't real.
It looks like a fan trailer. Like it is, and Luffy, he doesn't have a complex costume or anything. And to me, it is so hard to see this guy as Luffy.
Mm.
And I don't know, you needed someone who would have a really big, wide
You
grin.
need that big smile. Yeah.
You need that big smile. You need him to be particularly lanky. And there's lots of people who have these kind of physical features that you could have found. This guy doesn't match it at all. And yes, he's darker skinned than the anime and stuff. That's probably one of the smallest things about the adaptation of the character in that regard. Because, I mean, like, it wouldn't have worked if they made him really dark skinned in the adaptation. And so, to me, he's got a bit more of a tan. That's a smaller issue in terms of getting the feel of the character. Like Jet in Cowboy Bebop, right? They made him black, but they hit so many of the other physical identifying features of Jet. I actually didn't realize they race changed him when I saw the live action. I first saw the image. I saw the image of the live action Cowboy Bebop adaptation, and the only reason I was able to identify it as Cowboy Bebop was Jet. I didn't recognize Spike or Faye from Cowboy Bebop, but it was Jet. And they changed their skin color. And so, to me, that was like, all right, you got the visual connections to the character.
Yeah.
And that's been our stance on color changing from the very beginning. If some characters, their visual identifying kind of appearance is tied to skin color. I think Little Mermaid is a perfect example of this. And red hair, by the way. And so the adaptation, live action Little Mermaid, didn't look anything like it. But then you have examples like Jet in Cowboy Bebop and Kingpin in the Ben Affleck Daredevil, and also Nick Fury, where that works. You can get away. So it's a case by case. This one, it's not that much of a difference, but I think it's everything else, especially just his physicality. He's not lanky. He's not skinny. The grin doesn't work, and the expression. I think I don't know if it was the director or his choice as an actor, but we'll watch the trailer, right? He's so earnest and serious, and I hate it.
I feel like I could be wrong with this. I feel like Luffy was a bit more unhinged.
Yes.
He had this thing in his eye where you're like, oh, like most pirates do, because they're pirates. They have this little craziness about them. But he feels very like adventurous young boy going off, more like a Pokemon trainer than a pirate.
Yes, yeah. And like Luffy, he does have the I'm gonna go to get the One Piece, and he's got a big grin, but he's optimistic and it's not as reflective in this kind of somber. It's more like, I'm gonna do it, you know?
Yeah.
I guess, like, such a miss.
The sea's been calling.
All right. His voice. I think he's trying with his voice. Yes, but it's the tone and overall kind of, I guess, feel of the character. And you'll notice that as the trailer goes.
So?
See, even that. See how serious and earnest that was, where he's reaching up hesitantly. Watch that.
The sea's been calling.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't feel like Luffy. Like, you know, you think Luffy would be smiling. Luffy can be in wonder, but he'd be like really excited.
So? I'm setting out to follow my dreams. I'm gonna be king of the pirates.
All right. I think that line was delivered well. I'm going to be king of the pirates. That felt a little Luffy.
All I need is a loyal crew.
Like, every time I see his face, it's always serious.
You're right,
and,
he's doing this dramatic.
and like, where is Luffy? I haven't seen him yet.
I think together we'd make a pretty good team.
It still feels reserved. Like to me, Luffy would be like, together we would make, not even really good, together we would make a great team, or something like something really with energy.
Yeah.
And you see that in the animation. You want to see how Luffy's line should be delivered? Watch the anime, right? This one is just like, together we'd make a pretty good team. Like,
Again, I think it's something that's what's wrong with doing when you have Japanese subbed anime and then you go to Netflix live action. There's this magical thing that's destroyed, which is like the energy of characters.
yes, the soul, basically.
Yeah, basically the soul. Yeah,
Because Netflix adaptation, they
have no
is
soul.
missing.
Okay. Here's my biggest gripe with these Netflix adaptations.
Yeah.
They're too clean.
I think I agree. That's what I certainly noticed about the Avatar one.
Yeah,
We will talk about the
we'll talk
Avatar
about
one.
that. But like in this, he is tied up. There's no sweat. His hair is perfect. Even
Yeah.
Luffy, it's a hot sunny day, not a single bit of sweat on him.
Yeah, I mean, the hair, I know he has green hair, but like, you've made it look like he's got green highlights in this. Maybe it's just the shadow. It's got green at the, I don't know. Still, like,
But
it's hard to pull off green and looking real. That's
It looks fake though.
It doesn't look very fake.
We're heading up to the Grand Line.
Is it the accent? He has a bit of a, like, Spanish,
Yeah.
Mexican accent, subtly there. And that also doesn't feel like Luffy. But I guess, well, I mean, the animation, like, he doesn't have that accent at all. That fight scene might have been possible. And what were your thoughts on it? Oh, I went too far.
I think it's too much to
Too
know
much?
because it was like one
Yeah,
shot. You need
yeah.
to know shot for shot kind of how they do those fight scenes because
Treacherous stretch.
like, she's got ginger hair. How could you make ginger hair look fake? That's not hard. It looks like she's wearing a wig.
I agree. It just get a ginger to do it. And it's not that hard to make your hair ginger either. You just bleach it. Bleach it and it goes ginger.
Ay.
But they're going to dye it pink instead or a fake orange.
And look, like she had a very either heart-shaped or roundish face as well. She just like doesn't look like her.
Stretch of ocean with bigger islands and bigger pirates.
And she also sounds too serious.
Careful with that.
Is that supposed to be a punchline or a joke? Like how is that supposed to be interesting? Just someone's so careful. Like,
It just shows the chemistry they're going to have on screen, isn't it?
oh,
Bigger pirates. Careful with that.
I don't work for you.
I'm sensing a little bit of tension amongst the crew.
Do you think maybe they couldn't afford better actors?
how?
Or maybe they just... Because like I look at this and I'm like, man, if I was casting and I saw these three in a room together,
I know.
There's-
I'll be like,
there's
Not
no
a
spark.
chance.
It's
just not working. And what's crazy, like, to my understanding, there's actually a crazy influx of people trying to become actors versus the roles that are available. If you put out a casting call, you are not short for like, when you put out a casting call for a large budget production, you are not short of applicants. And so, like, and some of these, aspiring actors, a lot of them are bad. All you have to do is watch some low budget films on Amazon or something. It's like, "Urgh." And so most aspiring actors are actually pretty bad. But there are some diamonds among them that are just crazy good. And surely you could have found people who fit the role and could have done a better job. Ay.
Not a crew.
I got nothing to know. It's like, You're just showing how bad chemistry you all have.
We haven't sailed together for very long, but I know we've got each other's backs.
Again, all those lines from Luffy just felt too earnest. Like,
Too serious.
too serious. Well done, Netflix. You've done it again. We probably gonna have to review it.
will have to review
We'll have
it.
to review this,
Yeah.
and because look, from this trailer, it looks bad. We could be proven wrong on release. It happens rarely, but it does happen. So we'll see. Wait and see.
I watched the audience reaction to this,
Yeah.
and it was funny how quiet it was, and then you have those like loud front row people who are like, "Yeah." Another thing too. Do we have it here? Or do I have it? Yeah, I got a screenshot. Look at the like to dislike ratio.
Lots of dislikes.
Lots of dislikes compared to usual.
And that's with the filter.
Yeah.
Like the actual real dislikes are even greater. It's not as bad as it could be. Or like, we'll see. This Netflix is constantly making dog crap. Like, unless they actually, it's made by a different studio,
Mm.
like Arcane, just phenomenal. I mean, Netflix. I mean, I heard Stranger Things, the most recent season, was pretty good.
But they're going to finish that. Next season's the last season, and
Is
they're
it?
done. And then it's like, okay, what are we going to do? A prequel? Another sequel? Like,
So, if it goes according to what Netflix shows usually go, it'll be cancelled after the first
Yes.
season.
Oh.
Like, you have no reason to get excited for any show because most likely it's only going to be one season incomplete, and most likely it's going to be dog crap as well.
Yep.
If it's Netflix. So we'll have to wait and see. So until then, stay on watch.